Great. Hi, everyone. I'm not sure how many of you are watching, but I'm glad to have whoever has decided to show up in this little meeting. We're going to be talking about alternate pathways in healthcare, what that means, what that looks like for you, different resources that are available to you, and all kinds of information relating to this topic. I hope for those of you who have been attending the other sessions or have been a part of the Health Expo so far that you've been able to enjoy it, had lots of information, met some employers or potential graduate school recruiters. My name is Samantha Dawson, and I am the Assistant Director and Career Coach of the Health Professions here at KU University Career Center. I also am the instructor of a course called LANS 172, Exploring Health Professions. And so as we go along with our talk today, if you're watching live, please feel free to ask questions and we'll do our best to route those to me and I'll answer them if I can. All right, so let's go ahead and jump in. So today, like I said, we'll be talking about alternate pathways in healthcare. Whether you are unsure about choosing a career path that's the best fit for you, or you're second guessing your career choice, this talk is for you. Just to provide a roadmap for our session today, I'll be talking briefly about potential pathways to consider. Then I'll walk through ideas about how to take what I call a self-inventory of your interests and see which route might be the most applicable for you to investigate. I'll also discuss what it means to receive a rejection letter, should that happen to you, whether it be from a graduate program or a professional school. And this will include what next steps to take and things to consider following that rejection letter. And that conversation will steer us into gap years, how to use that time advantageously, and I will also be incorporating resources in the middle of the talk and at the end. And that's pretty much what we will be covering today. So let's jump right on in and talk about what I like to refer to as the two categories of health work: clinical health work and non-clinical health work. So I like to think about health work in two ways. There are other ways to classify these career paths, of course, but I've found this to be the easiest to explain. So there are health professions that work directly with patients, that specialize in handling, diagnosing, and treating the body. It's very hands-on work, and it's done primarily in traditionally clinical spaces. And of course, I call this the clinical path. You'll likely recognize a lot of careers aligned with this pathway, like doctors, nurses, physician's assistants, maybe you're into PT or OT, and so on. On the other hand, we have non-clinical health work. These might be best described as approaching health or disease or medicine with a more conceptual take. These careers overlap with health or medicine, but they do not require patient contact most of the time. You're not diagnosing or treating disease. Instead, these careers are often looking for patterns or trends in health outcomes, assessing structural components that affect health outcomes in a population or multiple populations, or it's contributing to health-related information and knowledge in some way. You might have heard some of these jobs before, but usually we find that they are a lot less popular or a lot less well-known than the clinical options. Some examples of a non-clinical pathway would be an epidemiologist, a medical sociologist or anthropologist, health communications work, global health work, or even medical translator. Of course, these categories are not set in stone. There are clinical workers that might work in a hospital setting, at least partial time, and there are specializations within clinical work that focus primarily on research and so on. But this is a good starting place, in my opinion, to jumpstart self-reflection and think about your own interest if you're stuck in that exploratory phase or you're choosing to revisit it in an attempt to get a plan B. So now let's talk about this interest inventory now that we have a little bit more of an understanding of these two pathways and kind of how we categorize these different career paths in the health professions. And so I've thrown a lot of questions up on the screen. So for anyone watching, you can take a picture of this or you can read through them. I won't be reading them out to you, but I'll just hit some key points here. Most of you know that medical school or other types of health profession programs are extremely competitive and extremely rigorous. Without assistance or guidance, tackling career choices in these fields can be extremely overwhelming or anxiety-provoking. Career paths, changes, or indecisiveness when it comes to choosing a path is valid and it's a common occurrence. If this is where you find yourself, and I'm assuming that most of you out there watching right now are maybe considering yourselves in this era, if you're joining us for this talk, using the following inventory to check in and reflect on your own values, goals, and wishes might be really useful. Whether you're considering your current trajectory or exploring your options, these questions can help give you a sense of what route might be the best fit for you. The key here is to be honest and open with yourself and what you want or like. Regardless of if you're preparing for med school interviews or writing a personal statement for a graduate program in art therapy, you will likely need to know and be able to explain why health work is the proper route for you. Therefore, I urge you to spend time on that first question, why health? Think about your motivations. If you are struggling to think of motivations, this might be a sign that health work either isn't the best fit for you, and that's a-okay too, or you need more experiences. And we have resources to help with both, so don't worry. These may seem like silly little questions to start asking yourself, but understanding your preferences can prompt you to dig a little deeper. For example, if you say no to working with patients, but you say yes to hard science in a clinical setting, then maybe clinical lab sciences or pharmacy would be considerable options for you. If you aren't sure what your preferences and interests are at this point, this could also be an indicator that you need more experiences. How will you know if clinical work does or doesn't interest you if you've never been in a clinic? As many of you know, professional programs and graduate schools in the health professions often require volunteer and shadowing experiences as part of the preparation process or prerequisite process for applying. This is because they want to ensure that you know what you enjoy and know what you are signing up for ahead of time before you commit to one of these stressful, challenging programs. Getting a variety of meaningful experiences is crucial, as it will help you narrow down your interests and preferences and give you a good sense of what you do and don't like doing, which can help shape your future career choices. Another great little activity that I like to use, or what I call the secret formula here, as you can see on the screen, is looking at how your interests overlap with health as a concept in a broad way, and then what career might relate to both of those things. While most of us, if pushed, could maybe name 40 or 50 health-related careers, in reality, there are hundreds of options out there. And so you can start to use this formula right away if you have a good grip on your interests already. If not, you're unsure, it might be worthwhile to set a timer and brainstorm a list of things that you enjoy doing or learning about. There are no limits. Your interests could be music, sports, art, exercise, maybe a specific system in the body, or an organ like the heart or the brain. Maybe you enjoy learning languages. Maybe you have previous experience with languages. Maybe you like culture or computer programming or food or traveling. Anything at all can go on this list. And then once you have a cohesive list, we can put that into this formula to see what overlaps with health and what careers we can come up with. And I have an example for us on the screen. So here I started with art as the interest, and I did a quick brainstorm for career ideas. So how does art intersect with health? Maybe medicine and health interest you as concepts, but you don't really want to work in a clinic and you have no interest working with patients. And you're really the most interested in just studying art. Well, you could go to school for art history and focus your research on artworks that relate to medicine or health or disease in a certain era of time or in a certain population. This could be a great thesis or dissertation topic. Maybe you like producing art and you enjoy learning about the body and medicine, but you still don't really want to work with patients. You may be interested in becoming a medical illustrator for textbooks or something similar. And maybe you like art and you want to work with patients. Art therapy could be a great way to specialize within your interests and preferences. And of course, you don't have to go through this process alone. Any of the coaches at the University Career Center can help you through this process and help brainstorm with you. And there are a lot of great web resources out there to help you do this too. I have 3 resources linked on the screen here. The first is explorehealthcareers.org. I love this resource personally because you can kind of see at the top left of the screen here, there is a Career Explorer option. So this website houses over 100 different career options, and they provide all of the details about what that career looks like. And you can sort by your preference for salary or how many years of schooling you're willing to do, which I find very helpful. The next 2 links are for the University Career Center, and these are our hubs for career exploration. And you can see a little bit of an example of that in that second photo at the bottom left-hand side. Like I said, whether you're in the middle of reconsidering your career path or you're still trying to find one to begin with, the UCC has an assortment of tools that we can offer to help point you in the right direction. And so now I want to transition a little bit away from tools and resources for career exploration and talk about what happens when you get one of these rejection letters. So you got one. What does it mean? What do we do next? Whether you're getting ready for the application cycle, or you've already received rejection letters, or you're worried that future you will have to face this problem in a year or two, this section's for you. I've said it before, and you probably heard it 1,000 times at this point, but graduate programs and professional programs in the health professions are tough. They can be extremely competitive, more so maybe than a lot of other fields. And preparation for these programs is rigorous. Receiving a rejection letter is not uncommon, to say the least. It can be overwhelming, it can be heartbreaking, and it can be painful to get one of those letters back. Most of us typically don't enjoy getting rejections of any kind. It may feel like a personal attack. It might feel like maybe you aren't good enough and that you're not sure if you can even continue. And these emotions are valid and normal. However, a rejection letter is not meant to be an attack on you, and knowing what they're really saying in this letter can help you navigate these negative feelings and bounce back accordingly. The first thing to assess is how your academic metrics aligned with the typical averages of the schools you applied for. If your MCAT score was below a 500 or your GPA was low, then it's likely that other applicants had more competitive scores. Again, this is not an attack on you, nor does it mean you can't ever get into a program. It just means that if you wish to continue on this route, we need to revisit those academic metrics and get them up to par as the first step and first course of action. If you think your metrics were in a competitive range, then typically 2 things might have happened. The committee felt like you did not have enough significant experience, or, maybe you struggled to showcase those experiences well enough, or your application documents needed more polishing. Note that usually you can reach out to an admissions office or the admissions committee to receive more detailed feedback about the nature of your rejection, which can be helpful going forward. As I mentioned before, understanding your own motivations for pursuing health work, clinical and non-clinical alike, is key, as you may be asked to explain these reasons on your applications to a variety of programs or during interviews for those programs. Getting meaningful experiences not only helps you understand more about your own likes and interests, but they serve as evidence to committees about your abilities, dedication to the field, and knowledge. Lack of experiences also affect the magnitude of your application material, making your personal statement and essays appear lackluster or unfounded. Some of you may consider the rejection letter to be the turning point in your career path. Again, trajectory change is normal and expected. If you find yourself at this point, remember that there are resources and tools, like I discussed in the first half of the presentation, that you can use. You can also reach out to the Career Center, and we can help guide you through the next steps for a career change. And we can help you reassess what careers might be a better fit for you. If you're positive that this is the path for you despite a rejection letter, then I'm going to discuss what to do next. And that brings us to gap years. So taking that rejection letter in stride is half the battle. Many of you will find yourself with this gap of time on your hands as you wait for the next application cycle. And I want to talk about how to use that extra time, or how to use what we call a gap year, advantageously. And the first step is going to be defining what we mean by that. So what makes a gap year a gap year? A gap year isn't just time off from school or the application cycle. It is time taken intentionally, with the focus on deliberately expanding one's own horizons, so to speak. The emphasis is on experiential learning or getting hands-on experiences during this time off. It means challenging yourself, getting out of your comfort zone, and honing your skills as a professional. So what do you do with this time? The key for a gap year is to find that perfect something that is both meaningful to you and will enhance your application. And there are a lot of ways to do this. Though you might find yourself taking time off from strictly academic pursuits, you must show admissions committees that you have thoughtfully considered why you're choosing to reapply to their school, and volunteering, independent research, and other types of work in related fields during this time off is a great way to demonstrate that you're committed to this pathway. I recommend considering service or volunteer work, exploring international opportunities, or even continuing jobs or shadowing or volunteer opportunities that you've been doing all along while assuming more responsibility in those roles you already have. Working or researching in fields related to your field of interest will teach you more about the field overall that you're planning to enter. It'll give you something new to write about in your applications. It may help you explain why you're motivated to pursue one certain discipline over others. And it always helps to get a letter of recommendation, find a valued mentor, or even a publication as some of the potential perks to doing this. And these perks and benefits can help augment your application for the next cycle. So I have a couple of examples up on the screen here and some resources for how to find them. Many KU students have found success in using gap years, or even, not just one gap year, but multiple gap years, by joining the Peace Corps or doing AmeriCorps volunteering. A lot of students have had success with participating in language immersion programs to learn a foreign language and more. Whatever the experience is, it should be something that matters to you, something that you feel is meaningful, that teaches you a lot, and allows you to grow and master professional skills. We need to make these opportunities count and make this time off count. So the rule here is quality over quantity. Make it matter to you. Admissions committees would rather see you dedicate a year to one really interesting, unique experience that you loved and that taught you a lot than see you complete 5 hours at 150 different organizations. And I always encourage students that are interested or that are seeking out experiential opportunities to keep a detailed record and detailed notes from those experiences. I recommend writing down the details for each and every opportunity on a daily or a weekly basis. If you're starting a full-time job, you might note the type of training that you received, the career skills that were inherent to the job, your job description and responsibilities, and especially what things you do successfully or times that you go above and beyond while you're working. For volunteer positions or internship opportunities, you should make note of the organization, the number of hours that you spend there, what you liked, what you loved, and what you learned. All of this will be extremely useful later on when you're tackling personal statements, updating your resume, and practicing interview answers. Admissions committees have acknowledged that younger applicants, like those coming out or directly out of college, might suffer by comparison to older, more experienced applicants, especially in the health professions. This is because a lot of younger applicants might spend more time checking off requirement boxes without spending enough time to get a realistic understanding of the field or career they're pursuing. Schools and employers alike want to know that you understand what you've signed up for and why you're motivated to do so. And this is kind of the theme of this talk. The more time you spend in these meaningful experiential settings, the easier it will be to focus on applications, since you'll have a more solid vision and goal to work towards. You will need more experiences and reasons to back up your gut feeling that you just must be in this certain career field when writing those personal statements and talking to committees. Again, if you're having trouble with writing your personal statements or struggling to come up with good practice interview answers, this is a red flag that we need to go back and get you more time and experience in the field. Now, I've told you some good ways to spend the long daylight hours of a gap year or this time off in between cycles. Volunteering, shadowing, internship experience, full-time positions, those are all really great ways to spend your day. And so now I'm going to transition a little bit and talk about some of the other quality uses for this time off, aside from jobs or working or volunteering. And we'll start with exams. Many graduate programs and professional schools require entrance exams for their applications, so it is important to study and aim for a competitive score. If you're thinking that you might need to retake your exam for a better score, to get those academic metrics up, then a gap year will allow you to do the prep work without having to worry about any kind of added academic stressors like homework or midterms or finals. You can make a study plan that suits your internship, volunteer, or work schedule so that you are both building professional skills, getting experiential opportunities, updating and building your resume, and then also dedicating a proper amount of time and energy to exam prep. And this could significantly impact your score. In the same vein, gap years are also beneficial because they give you an opportunity to reassess your GPA. Academic metrics are not all that matter when applying, but they do matter. Keep in mind, one low grade is probably not what's ruining your chances to get into a school, and it won't ever ruin your chances to get into a school. But if you've got the time and the means to do so, and your grades do concern you, a gap year is the perfect time to rebuild your GPA. You could spend a semester retaking a course or two with a university to boost your GPA while working to build your resume and getting all of these other experiences. Particularly for science and pre-health students, some consider doing a post-bac program, as these programs offer a series of classes and certificates for students that have graduated with bachelor's degrees. So that is always an option, and we do have information about the KU post-bac program. And you might have already heard the talk from current students earlier this week if you tuned in for that. Something else to keep in mind, the more time you have to do activities, the more opportunities you have to forge relationships with potential recommenders. Letters of rec are required for many academic and professional programs. Many jobs will require you to have professional references when applying, And building relationships with those that you work for, such as previous professors, volunteer coordinators, and more, will be extremely beneficial to you in the future. Maintaining said relationships also goes a long way, and it speaks to your character. A gap year gives you time to search for and find and start these experiences and opportunities, and it also puts you in contact with people that allow you to build professional relationships. You might also have more time for professional networking, attending career events, and saying yes to fascinating opportunities that come your way. It is not unusual to see internships or employment opportunities come from attending a career fair or other types of networking events, or while talking to professionals in your field of interest. Gap years are also a good time for completing informational interviews with professionals in the field. You can take time to ask those researching or working in jobs that you've considered doing, that you have questions about, and you can ask them questions about their own career path, what types of experiential opportunities that they did when they were in school or preparing for their programs, what volunteer and work experiences that they've done in preparation, and more. This information can help guide your own decisions about how to spend your time and give you a peek into the career that you're considering. Of course, these are just a few ways to spend your gap year, should you take one, and there are tons of other options or ideas floating around out there that you can do during this time off. The key here is just making sure that you are using that time wisely and deliberately to better yourself and hone your skills. And here is a peek at one of the UCC's resource pages for student opportunities should you be interested. And this one, what I've highlighted on the screen, has a couple of international and travel job options, just to point those out. Of course, there are many domestic and local opportunities listed here as well. And some of our other web pages have information that you can find on, again, career exploration, prep, internships, volunteer experience, and so on. KU mentoring is also a great place to find mentors for conducting these informational interviews or having career-related conversations. It's a really useful tool for pre-health students to find shadowing opportunities. And this platform is really great because it is designed to put current students in contact with alumni and professionals in the field who are willing to be mentors for students. So it's worth taking a look at. I also highly recommend students check out Jayhawk Ready, and that is the third link on the page there. So this is a KU platform that houses informational videos, guides, web resources, worksheets, and more for a variety of career-related topics. You can get information not only on where to find internships, but how to make them meaningful, what to look out for, to learn more about what career skills are, what do we mean by that, how to talk about them on a resume. And we also have a pre-health section with all kinds of great information that goes through career exploration all the way to kind of along the lines of this talk, what to happen if you decide this isn't for you, or next steps in preparation for what comes after a rejection letter, or deciding that this career path isn't what you thought it would be, but you want to still be doing health work. Another great resource is prehealth.ku.edu. So this is our hub for all things pre-health related at KU. You can see on the screen on the bottom right-hand side all of those little blue boxes. So these are several clinical pre-health tracks that KU offers. If you click on one, I chose to do medicine for this example, but if you click on any of them, you can find tons of information about those programs at KU. But most of those pages will have a section dedicated to gaining experiences, as you can see in the top image. Even if you aren't interested in a clinical pathway, you can still use this resource to find service experiences or opportunities in the community. And many of these pages include both clinical and non-clinical job and volunteer options. And of course, if you haven't heard of this already, hirejayhawks.com is a great resource that we have to help connect you with employers, our career services, to put you in contact with faculty and staff, all that culminates together to help you achieve your career goals. You can search for jobs and internships on this website. You can schedule an appointment with a career coach here, or you can see all of the current events that the Career Center has going on at KU. And lastly, we encourage you all to call the UCC to set up a career coaching appointment, ask questions, and explore other resources or opportunities should you need it. For those of you who might be graduating soon, you are still eligible to use our services and schedule appointments with career coaches as an alum, so keep that in mind. And you can follow the UCC on social media for all upcoming events, updates, and fun content. And so that is the bulk of my talk. I'm going to open it up to questions should we have any. And if you're watching live, remember that you can shoot us those questions too. All right, so if we have no questions, I would say that's all I have.